Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Norway once again for the first time in what feels like a good little while, and we're going to go back to a brewery that I really quite like, but we've got a style of beer that I've never had from them before, so it should make for quite an interesting review. For this one then we are going to go to Drammen, to the southwest of Oslo, the capital city, and we're having a look at yet another beer from Haandbryggeriet, and this must be review number 10 or so that I've done from these guys actually, but I've always been impressed with them. So this particular beer is the first one that I've had in a can, and it's also the first ever New England Hazy IPA that I've had from them as well. The beer is called Hops for Hipsters. It comes in at 6% ABV, and I believe that this beer was released as part of the Tillfällig assortment on, I want to say, the 18th of August 2020 through Systembolaget here in Sweden. But yeah, definitely nice to have something a bit different from these guys. I'd heard that these guys had a whole range of beers that had been released in cans, but they just never made it over here to Sweden actually, so glad that I've finally been able to come across one of these, and I'm very curious to see what this brewery has in store for us on the hazy side of things. I've had some very nice IPAs from these guys in the past. The Feuer of Flamme is a really nice one actually. That's a really good West Coast IPA, and I forget what the collaboration one that was done with Brewdog was called, but that was another really good West Coast IPA as well. But yeah, my first ever hazy New England from them, and hopefully it turns out to be just as good as the West Coast ones were, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. Nice to have another Norwegian beer on the channel. I'd love to review some more of the kind of smaller Norwegian craft breweries on the channel regularly. I need to find a beer mule up there to kind of gather and send stuff to me. I can obviously give them a little bit of money for doing that. But yeah, Norwegian beer, very good quality in my experience, and I just wish I could do them a little bit more often. But yeah, let's see how we go with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Haandbryggeriet before, and no doubt you will see some more added to that list in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Norwegian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Haandbryggeriet then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've mentioned to you already, Haandbryggeriet is from the small town of Drammen to the southwest of Oslo, and the town is located in Buskerud county. And the total population of the city is around 63,000, so it is actually one of the bigger towns that you're going to find in Norway. A lot of places here in Sweden, and I guess generally throughout Scandinavia and the Nordics, they are actually very small in terms of population. But this city apparently started off as 3 separate seaport towns, and eventually they were merged together to form Drammen back in 1811. And the unique location of the town made it a big centre for both timber and for shipbuilding. But Haandbryggeriet was founded officially back in 2005 by Jens Marvel, Rune Eriksen, Arne Eide and Egil Hilde. These guys had done a lot of home brewing together beforehand, from what I understand. The original premises that they had was an old textile factory which had been built back in 1874. This was right in the middle of a housing estate not far from the Aas brewery, who are one of the big Norwegian macro producers, but they now have a new property in the old rail yard in the city. But their brew kit was used from England, and it had about a 900 litre capacity per batch, but in 2006 their production was around 40,000 litres, but by 2012 they'd expanded this to 350,000 litres after they bought a new 1,800 litre brewing kit. So their beers are quite widely available domestically in Norway, but they're also exported as well. I think the first beer that I tried from these guys was actually in Japan, the Norwegian Wood, if I remember correctly, which was a beautiful kind of smoked juniper farmhouse beer. I really thought that was, at the time, I was kind of blown away by that. I remember back in, what was that, like 2016 or so? That was the first time I tried one of the Haandbryggeriet beers, and I really, really liked it. But the company also import a number of different beers into Norway as part of their distribution business as well, and in 2014 they invested in new brewing equipment, and then in 2016 two of the original founders decided they wanted to retire, and so the brewery ownership structure has changed quite a bit since then, and these guys are now part of a group involving the Brewery and also the Hufel, the Seven Mountain Brewery as well, who, if I remember rightly, are from Bergen. I can't remember where Alstman are from. I've only ever reviewed one beer from the Alstman Brewery, but it was pretty nice from what I remember. But as of August 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced in the region of 150 different beers, and they are pretty damn impressive in my mind. Odin's Tipple is one of the classic beers you'll find from these guys, the Big Imperial Stout. The Fura Flamme is a very classic kind of West Coast IPA, and the Norwegian Wood is a really interesting kind of traditional ale that I'd recommend you try if you get the chance. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Haandbryggeriet for the moment, other than that the name translates into English as the Hand Brewery, and their symbol is like a kind of finger handprint type thing. But yeah, one of the first Norwegian craft brews that I encountered, along with the likes of Nygna and Lervig, came along not so long after that as well. But yeah, as I said, always nice to review some Norwegian beers for you here on the channel. I do wish that I had a Norwegian beer mule that I could send money to and get more random stuff from up there, but we'll need to see. Maybe that is something that will come in the near future. But yeah, for the moment, very nice to review Norwegian beers whenever we can. So yeah, let's get on and have a taste of this one then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is actually quite similar to what you'd get from the bottles. You can see this nice kind of this sort of label type thing on the front. This, would you say a roundel? It's not quite fully round, but yeah, this kind of roundel type thing that's on the front of the can here, this is what you will find on all the bottles. I'm not sure if Haandbryggeriet will change fully to cans, because of course they are a little bit better for the environment. So maybe they will, but this is the first canned beer that I've had from these guys as well. But I know they've had a canned series of IPAs and things like that. Some of the more experimental beers have been coming out in cans for quite some time. But yeah, really nicely presented, this one. You can see the sort of yellow fingers and thumbprint here. Usually those are red, actually. Usually on most of the beers they're red, but there you can see on the side it says there Norwegian Haandbryggeriet, Norwegian craft beer. I do like that when the European breweries put the flags and stuff like that on the side of the cans and bottles and stuff. There's a few breweries here in Sweden do that. I think the notable one is Beerbibliotek. I really like that Beerbibliotek do that. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we go. And really nicely presented, 440ml can. I think I only paid like 30 kroners or 30 or 35 kroners, something like that. This beer was remarkably cheap for being an import, and also for being and also for being in New England, actually. This beer was remarkably cheap, I remember. So yeah, good on both counts actually. Because normally in Systembolaget you'll pay an extra 10 kroners for a beer that is an import compared to a Swedish equivalent. So yeah, I would have thought you'd pay about 40 for something like this from the likes of Stigbergets or OO or something like that. But this beer, as I say, I'm sure this was like 35 or 40 kroners, and you would normally expect it to be about 50 as an import, especially from Norway as well, because of course cost of living and work and wages and stuff are higher and things up there, so you would expect this beer to cost just a little bit more. So yeah, don't know why that was. Not sure who the importer into Sweden was actually. Maybe it'll say on the can. But yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured a lovely kind of, I would describe that as a quite pale yellow colour, this one. You could see that it poured with about a quarter, maybe a third finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. That's going to fade away just to be a very, very thin foamy layer. If I stick my fingers behind the glass, you can see this one has a good degree of haze to it. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head. But yeah, in terms of a New England IPA, nothing particularly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. It certainly does look the part actually. I think this one does look very, very nice. So yeah, let's have a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Right, okay. It's not too assuming in terms of its aroma actually. It doesn't really kind of jump out of the glass at you, in fairness. That's kind of interesting. And this beer is still pretty fresh from what I gather. So yeah, In terms of the malty side of things then, you do get a bit of pale malt out of this. You can smell a little bit of a wheaty quality to it as well. It does have a wee bit of a kind of wheaty bitiness. Are we getting oats out of this? Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can smell a little bit of oaty creaminess to it, but it's quite minimal actually. I find that the malt base in this one really leans more towards the kind of pale malty, bready sort of thing, and a little bit more of that kind of slightly bitey wheat. So that's an interesting point to make about this beer for sure. So yeah, the more and more that I smell of this beer as well, it does start to get, you know, gradually more and more citrusy. And it is only American hops in this one, from what I gather. There's something in my head telling me straight away this might have a bit of Centennial in it. Yeah, the aroma of this beer is pretty interesting. As I say, it's quite a bready New England IPA, but it's also got quite a bit of citrusy, zesty kind of character to it. I'd love to know what hops were in this. I couldn't find that out when I was kind of searching for it. It didn't say anything on the website or that. But yeah, the aroma that comes out of this it's not quite what I expected. It actually smells more like it's a very, very bready leaning New England IPA, as I said, bit of wheat. You do get a little touch of oats out of it, but you know, it's not got too pungent an aroma, this one. It's quite reserved, I think, in terms of its aroma actually. And I think it is pretty fresh. It won't have been usually the distributors that bring the Norwegian beers in make sure that they're pretty fresh before they come across. Some of the American ones, of course, you might not get them in their prime freshness, but yeah, this one I think should be okay. But yeah, the aroma of this I think is pretty nice, to be honest. But yeah, definitely one of the very bready leaning ones. The more I smell this beer, I start to get a little touch of a McVitie's biscuity note out of it, which is interesting. So yeah, malt base, quite bready, little touch wheaty, teeny bit of oatiness and a wee bit of biscuity quality, but really it's not sweet in the malt base, I would say, actually. But on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the nose if you like, you do get a little touch of earthiness out of this one, but mainly the green side of the hops is quite floral. It's got quite a bit of a spicy floral character to it and a bit of a lighter grassy note there. It's quite zesty at the same time. As I said, you've got a nice kind of citrusy zest out of this one. Yeah, it has a nice kind of citrusy, zesty note coming out of it, which I really like actually. That goes together very, very nicely in this one. So, yeah, there's something in my head wants to say there's a bit of Centennial in this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's got a little bit of it seems a little bit strong for Citra, to be honest with you, in terms of the mango notes, but it may well have a little bit of Citra in it. Because the fruits are quite tropical in this, so it's got quite a strong lemony, citrusy zest, and I suspect that could be Centennial. There's a good bit of tropical fruit as well, though. I'm tempted to say that it's maybe a wee bit of El Dorado or something like that, because El Dorado's got a nice little bit of it's got a little bit more pungency to the passion fruit than Simcoe does. I've always found that Simcoe in IPAs like this, it comes across as very kind of soft, and you do get a little bit of that in fairness. So I think Simcoe probably is still a possibility, but yeah, a little bit of passion fruit out of this. You do get a wee bit of the mangoes, and you're getting some of the lighter tropical fruits that you typically get as well. You know, the papayas, the apricots, these kind of things. I think more papaya out of this one, to be honest. But yeah, to me, it comes across as, the more that I smell of this, the more that I start to get these softer tropical fruits, as I said. But it really does have a good bit of citrusy, kind of zesty note to it, so I wouldn't be surprised if Centennial is in here and then one of like El Dorado or Simcoe or something like that. I don't think it's Idaho 7. Idaho 7 would be the other kind of tropically fruit, the tropical hop that could be in this one, but I would think if it was Idaho 7 it would come across as even more smooth and juicy than that. But regardless, it doesn't really matter what hop's in it, it's just always a bit fun to play guess the hops with some of these beers. But yeah, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma for this one. The fruity side of things is quite citrusy, and then it's got these kind of softer tropical fruits in behind it. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Hops for Hipsters, a New England hazy IPA, whatever you want to call it, coming in at 6% ABV. My first first in a can and my first hazy IPA from Haandbryggeriet in Drammen up in Norway. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. Oh yeah. First impression of this one is that this is really light and really drinkable actually. That's very nice. I do like this one. Thumbs up to Hand straight away. This one, there are some beers like this that just kind of strike me when I try them. I've had so many hazy IPAs recently. I've been talking to some of the other beer tubers. You know, I do to a degree miss the variety of having West Coasters and black IPAs and things like that as well. And it's nothing against the New England IPAs. It is just that, you know, everybody's doing them these days. So, you know, it is nice to have a little bit of a change of pace, but you'll come across it's always nice to try them from different countries as well, but I think Hand here have a really nice, easy drinking New England IPA. This strikes me as one that, you know, would be a good introduction for somebody to the style. Actually, it's really soft, it's really smooth, it's really drinkable. So yeah, it's a thumbs up from me. I like how this one goes together. But yeah, this one is really nice actually. I do like how this goes together. I think it's probably safe to say that this one isn't maybe the most adventurous IPA that you're going to find from Haandbryggeriet. They will have ones, I'm sure, that are kind of more beastly than this, but this one really strikes me at 6%. I don't know if you really can call it a session IPA, but you know, it really is. To me, it would strike me as quite accessible, and it's really nice and very easy drinking this. So, as I say, thumbs up to Haandbryggeriet. But yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this one then. So straight away with this beer, you get a nice little bit of a kind of pale malty quality. That blankets the middle of your tongue. As you go towards the back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of a kind of slightly thicker wheaty quality coming out of the beer. The back third of your palate feels distinctively thicker. A few little bit of wheaty spicy notes coming out of it, and it's almost a bit smoother and slightly sweeter at the same time. But yeah, as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, you'll feel the beer just kind of almost like thins out a little bit, and you start to get these nice nicer kind of pale malty notes out of it. Then further towards the front of that middle third of your palate, you get the slightly thicker oaty creamy notes coming out of the beer as well, which is quite interesting. But yeah, in the centre of your palate, nice little bit of a kind of sweet biscuity quality coming out of it. It's a little bit like a McVitie's Digestive, but I would say the biscuity qualities in this one are quite minimal. It really strikes me, this is definitely more of a kind of bready leaning New England IPA in my mind. You do get quite a bit of the pale malt, I think, coming out of this one, which is quite interesting. It reminds me a bit actually of some of the German New England takes on the IPA that I've had, or takes on the New England IPA I should say, so yeah. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together in that sense. It's got a lovely kind of, it does have a degree of crispness to it, but at the same time it's quite smooth. This one definitely doesn't have any kind of Pilsner malt or anything in it. It's quite often with some of these lighter IPAs, you would get a little, some breweries used to add a little bit of Pilsner malt into them. And at the back of the tongue you would just get that little bit of kind of crispness actually, and that was quite an interesting touch. But what you will find with this beer is that the further you go into the aftertaste, it does kind of smoothen out a little bit, which is really quite nice. In terms of the hoppy side of things then, I think we've said everything that we really need to about the malt base. It's a very kind of straight shooting malt base in this one in my mind. But in the back corners of the palate there's a little tiny bit of earthiness there. It's very smooth earthiness, almost like a little bit German and noble in its earthiness, if you like. But yeah, as you come further forward along the sides of the palate, the beer gets a little touch herbal, but then as you reach the front kind of corners of the tongue, there's a nice little touch of a slightly floral note out of this one. But again, the floral notes, they're not too big and spicy in my mind. They're actually really quite smooth in a lot of ways. It is almost, as I say, a little bit German. The green side of the hops in this beer is almost just a little bit German in the way it comes out, a little bit just German, noble, smooth kind of thing. So yeah, that's an interesting point about this one too. But yeah, as you go round the very front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind, and you do get a wee bit of citrusy zest coming out of the beer too. But let's focus on the front third of your palate, and that's where the nice kind of fruity qualities push their way out of the beer. And yeah, this one, it's pretty nice actually. I like the way the fruits evolve in this one. So yeah, you'll notice with this one, it's actually a very, very soft tropically fruit note, and now that I'm tasting it, I'm not unconvinced that Idaho 7 might be the one that's in here, because it's got those really lovely soft tropically notes coming out of it. I like how the fruity side of this beer goes together. If I didn't know better, I would almost be tempted to guess that it had like, you know, Hallertau Blanc, or like a little bit of Nelson Sauvin or something, because it really has a bit of a kind of almost gooseberry lychee type character, which is very interesting. Of course, I'm noticing that the further you go into the aftertaste, the beer does get a little bit more of a kind of floral bitterness to it. Bitterness does build in this one, but this is, you know, fairly low IBU beer in my mind. But yeah, the fruits in this are very nice. So if you go towards the back of your palate, then you do get a little bit of that. You do get a slightly darker mango out of this one, but as you come further forward, it really, to me, this beer becomes very kind of papaya-like. There's maybe a tiny little bit of pineapple coming out of it as well, but then as you reach the kind of front tip of the tongue, it's very like, it really has a bit of a kind of gooseberry-ish type quality to it, and maybe a little touch of like lychee or something in there as well. So it's very, very soft fruits, I think, that come out of this one, and that suits the malt base really nicely. And on the front edge of the tongue there, you do get a little bit of a kind of, you do get a little touch of a kind of zesty edge there. So there might be a little touch of Centennial in this one, or something like that. The other thing that might be in there might be a wee bit of lime, like Equinox could be an option, but Equinox, I think the lime would be a little bit more prominent, to be honest with you. As I say, it's always fun to play guess the hops with these beers, but the main thing to take away is that this is a really nice, easy drink in New England for me. But yeah, this one, I do like how it goes together, so it gets a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, well done to Haandbryggeriet for this one. This is quite a nice, as I said, I would consider this one quite a nice gateway New England IPA. I don't think this is the most bold and crazy New England that you're going to find from Haandbryggeriet. They probably have other ones that are crazier than this. But I think this one was is really, really nicely done and really nicely crafted. Quite a sessioner, this one actually, but it's 6%. I don't know if you can technically class this as a session IPA. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would describe this beer as being kind of the bottom end of mid-bodied. So yeah, the carbonation, very, very smooth on this one. The beer itself is quite smooth. There's a little touch of creaminess to it, but you know, it's not the... Yeah, it's a little touch kind of, it's a little bit kind of creamy, but not overly in my mind. But yeah, in terms of hoppy bitterness, I think you're talking only about 20 IBUs with this one. Nice kind of smoothness to the malt base, a little bit creamy, and you've got some nice kind of, you know, you've got a nice little bit of juicy fruitiness to this beer as well. But yeah, very, very smooth, very, very easy drinking beer, I think it's fair to say. I think that sums up the mouthfeel of this one quite nicely. But yeah, this was an interesting one. It's always cool to try different styles from breweries that you know quite well, because this, as I say, was my very first beer out of the can, and my very first hazy IPA from them as well. And I have to say, you know, if this is one of their kind of less crazy ones, if you like, I'd be curious to try I'd be curious to see what some of the bigger beasts are like, actually. So yeah, I need to go and have a look on the website after finishing this and see what things they have. But I think this is a really nicely done New England IPA, so well done to Haandbryggeriet once again. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this review. This one was the Hops for Hipsters, 6% New England Hazy IPA, whatever you want to call it, from Haandbryggeriet in Drammen to the southwest of Oslo in Norway. I would recommend this one as a nice kind of easy drinker. A lot of gooseberry-ish. The more I sit with this one, the more kind of gooseberry, limey kind of type esters you get out of this one, but really nicely done. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Haandbryggeriet as well. We will return to these guys at some point in the near future. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I do want to do some more Norwegian beer reviews, so keep an eye out for those. But thank you again, and I will catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.